My child, I watched you pass the hardest test. You did not know it was a test. That is what made it so holy. You went through days that felt endless, nights that pressed down on you so heavily you could barely lift your head, seasons where the silence around you was so thick you wondered if I had simply stopped listening. You kept going anyway. You did not have to. You could have closed your heart, turned away from me, decided that faith had failed you, but you did not. And I saw every moment of that choice. I saw what it cost you to stay. I want you to understand something clearly. The silence you walked through was not abandonment. It was not punishment. It was not proof that I had forgotten your name. It was proof that I trusted you. When a refiner places gold into the fire, he does not stand across the room. He watches closely, leaning in, waiting for the exact moment the impurities rise to the surface. That is what I was doing. I was not far from you in that fire. I was right there, watching, tending, making sure the flame did its perfect work without consuming one piece of who you truly are. You thought I was silent. I was not silent. Heaven was at work behind every closed door, every unanswered prayer, every morning you woke up and had to choose faith all over again. I was arranging what you could not see. I was moving people and moments into position with a precision you could not have planned if you tried. And all of it was for you, because of you, because your name matters in heaven as much today as it ever has. There were moments when you nearly surrendered. I know them all. I know the exact night you lay awake and whispered, "Maybe this is not meant for me." I know the mornings when hope felt like something that belonged to someone else, someone with an easier story, someone whose prayers seemed to work faster. You looked around and saw others moving forward, doors opening for them, prayers answered for them, and you stood still. And in that stillness, you asked me why. Declare your amen if you have faith in what I am speaking into your life today. I heard every why. I did not always answer with explanations, because explanations are not always what a weary heart needs. Sometimes what a weary heart needs is simply to know that I am still present, that I still know your name, that I have not moved on and left you behind. So I whispered, "Hold on." I spoke it into your spirit, even when your ears could not catch it. I kept that thread of hope from breaking even on the nights you were certain it was gone. That was me, my child. That was my hand, quiet and steady, holding you together when you were certain you were falling apart. You were not falling apart. You were being made. There is a difference that is hard to see from the inside of the process, but it is a difference I have seen in you from the very beginning. I knew the shape of the faith that would grow in you. I knew the kind of strength that only comes from being pressed. And I knew that you were someone who could carry it, not because your shoulders were the broadest, but because your heart was willing. Willingness is what I have always looked for. Not perfection, not performance, not the ability to get everything right. Just a heart that says, "Lord, I do not understand, but I am still here." You gave me that. Over and over and over again, you gave me that. Every morning you got up and chose one more day of trust. Every night you closed your eyes and said, "I do not know what tomorrow holds, but you do." Every prayer that rose from your lips, even the broken ones, even the ones that came out more like groaning than words, every single one of them reached me. Not one of them scattered on the wind. They rose before my throne, and every one of them has been answered, is being answered, or is about to be answered in a way that will take your breath away. My beloved, heaven was watching every step. The angels who now carry your breakthrough watched you through that long season. They watched as you chose kindness when bitterness would have been easier. They watched as you forgave people who never asked for it. They watched as you kept loving when love was costing you more than you had to give. And heaven was not quiet in those moments. There was joy in my courts every time you stood back up, every time you wiped your face and kept going, every time you chose me over comfort, me over pride, me over the easier road that led away from purpose. The world saw your struggle. Heaven saw your worship. There is a difference between those two things that I want you to hold in your heart. What the world called losing, heaven called advancing. What the world called silence, heaven called preparation. You were not falling behind. You were being built into something that had never existed before. A version of you, refined by fire, shaped by trust, made ready for the season that is now arriving at your door. You passed, my child. The test is complete. The fire has finished its work. What remains after all that burning is something pure and strong and ready. And it is you. All of you. Standing here, closer to my promise than you have ever been before. I need you to receive these words not just as comfort, but as confirmation. This message reaching you now is not random. It was set in motion long before this moment. Heaven itself scheduled this encounter, and all of what I have planned has been building toward the hour you are now entering. You did not arrive here by accident. You were drawn here by my spirit because what comes next belongs to you. The waiting is behind you. The reward of your faithfulness stands ahead, and I am the God who always keeps his word. I want to talk to you about the silence, because the silence was real and I know it hurt, and I do not want you to carry a wound from it any longer. There were seasons when you cried out to me and heard nothing. No comfort settled over you. No clarity came. No door opened. Just stillness, vast and heavy, and you standing in the middle of it, wondering if you had done something wrong, wondering if I was disappointed in you, wondering if you had somehow slipped out of my reach. I need you to hear me say this plainly. You were never out of my reach. Not for a single breath. Not for one heartbeat. My reach does not depend on whether you can feel it. The silence was not evidence of my absence. It was evidence of my trust. When a teacher gives a student a test, the room goes quiet. The teacher does not sit beside the student and whisper answers because the point of the test is to discover what the student already carries within. My silence was not a withdrawal. It was a confidence. I was quiet because I already knew what was inside you. I had placed it there. I was simply waiting to watch it come forth. And it did come forth, in ways that still move me when I think of them. You chose to trust me on mornings when trust felt like foolishness. You chose to pray on nights when prayer felt like shouting into an empty room. You held the thread of your faith even when it was thin enough to snap. That thread never broke, my child. Not once. And it was not your grip that kept it whole. It was mine. Speak, I believe, if these words are reaching your spirit right now. I know you looked at the wilderness you walked through and saw only loss. You saw things you loved removed. People who mattered to you, gone. Plans you had built, collapsed. Dreams you had carried, deferred so long they began to fade. It looked like reduction. It felt like something was being taken from you. But I was not taking. I was making room. There is a difference between those two things, and I need you to understand it clearly. A gardener who loves his vine does not leave it to grow in any direction it chooses. He prunes it carefully, deliberately, not out of cruelty, but out of care. He removes what is consuming the vine's strength without bearing fruit. He clears what is tangled and misdirected, so that what remains can go deeper, reach higher, and produce more than the unpruned vine ever could. That is what I was doing in your wilderness season. Every person I allowed to leave your life, every plan I allowed to come apart, every comfort I removed, it was pruning, not punishment. Pruning. Some of the people I allowed to step away from you were never meant to travel your whole road with you. They were appointed for a season, and when that season closed, I closed the chapter. Not because they were your enemies, but because where I am taking you requires a different kind of companion. Some of the plans that fell apart would have trapped you in a place I was calling you to leave. Some of the opportunities that closed looked like rejection, but were actually redirection. I was not narrowing your life. I was straightening the path. In the wilderness, I was also doing something that could not be done in abundance. I was teaching you to hear my voice, not the loud voice, not the voice that thunders over miracles and answered prayers, but the quiet voice, the whisper, the still small sound that carries more power than any storm. You would not have learned to hear it if I had kept filling your life with noise. The stripping away was also a tuning. Your spirit was being calibrated to my frequency. And now you can hear me in ways you never could before. My precious one, the wilderness you survived was a classroom. Every valley you walked through had a lesson written into it. You learned to walk by trust when your sight showed you nothing. You learned to love without guarantee of return. You learned to forgive not because the wound stopped hurting, but because you chose release over bitterness. You learned that peace does not come from favorable circumstances. It comes from me. And that lesson, that deep and lasting lesson, is one that no abundance can teach. It can only be learned in the quiet, in the stripped-down place where I am all that remains. None of it was wasted. Not one day of it. Not one tear. Not one sleepless night. Not one prayer that seemed to hit the ceiling and fall back down. I was receiving every word. I was recording every act of faith. I was noting every moment you chose me when choosing something else would have been so much easier. The wilderness season is not a gap in your story. It is one of the most important chapters, because it is the chapter where you proved what you are made of. And what you are made of is something that heaven honors deeply. The season of stripping is over. What has been pruned is already giving way to new growth. You are stepping out of the wilderness and into the appointed place. The classroom has released you, and you carry everything you learned. You are not going forward empty. You are going forward full of a faith that has been tested and held, full of a strength that was forged rather than borrowed, full of a peace that knows how to hold even when everything around it shakes. I am proud of you, my child, not in the way the world uses that word, but in the way a father looks at his son who has walked a hard road and arrived on the other side of it, still standing, still believing, still mine. That is what I see when I look at you now. Someone who came through the fire and did not lose what mattered most. Your faith is intact. Your love is alive. Your heart is open. And because of that, everything that is now being sent to you has somewhere to land. I saw the moments when obedience cost you everything. Not the easy obedience. Anyone can follow me when the path is clear and the road is comfortable. I am speaking of the other kind. The obedience that came with tears. The obedience that required you to release something precious, to walk away from something familiar, to trust me with your hands open when every instinct said to hold on. That kind of obedience is rare, and it is the kind that moves heaven. There were times I asked you to let go of what you loved most. You obeyed even when you did not understand why. You released it with trembling hands and a breaking heart, and you said, "Lord, I do not see what you are doing, but I trust you." That surrender was not weakness. It was warfare. It shook the unseen realm. Because obedience born from love, not from obligation, not from fear, but from the genuine choice to trust me above all else. That kind of obedience carries weight in eternity. I saw you forgive people who had wounded you deeply, people who never apologized, people who may never understand what they took from you, and yet you chose to release them. You did not do it because it was easy. You did it because you chose me over bitterness. That forgiveness was holy, my child. The enemy wanted that wound to fester. He wanted the offense to take root in your heart and grow into something that would poison your future. But you refused him. You opened your hand and let it go. And in that moment, chains fell off your destiny that you could not even see were there. My child, I am asking you to place a portion of what you have, something of real weight, upon the altar of this work, as gold laid on the scales of this calling. Let it be a seed sown into deep water, an offering set on stone, not held back in fear. This is proof that your trust rests in my hand to provide, and that your heart no longer clings to lack. What you release in faith does not leave your life. It moves ahead of you, into the harvest I'm preparing. I saw you walk away from arguments you could have won. I saw you stay silent when you could have defended yourself loudly and publicly. I saw you choose the humble path when the proud path would have felt so much better in the moment. The world did not applaud you for those choices, but heaven noticed every one of them. Every time you chose peace over pride, you looked like me. Every time you chose to bless rather than retaliate, you carried something of my nature into a world that desperately needs it. You served people who never thanked you. You gave to those in need even in seasons when you yourself were in need. You prayed for those who had hurt you, and your prayer was genuine, not performative. You did not do these things to earn my love. You did them because my love was already at work in you, flowing out through you, touching lives you may never fully know were touched. That is what it looks like when my spirit lives in someone. Not perfection, not the absence of struggle, but love that keeps choosing to act even when it has every right to rest. My child, every act of obedience you made in private has been recorded. Not one of them has been overlooked. You thought those moments were small, invisible, insignificant in the larger story. But the truth is that those hidden moments were the architecture of what is now being built in the open. What was faithful in private is about to be honored in public. What was surrendered in secret is about to return with increase. The seeds you sowed in quiet trust are now pushing toward the surface, and the harvest they carry is greater than what you planted. I know there were times when you obeyed me and it still hurt. Times you followed my direction and still lost something precious. You said, "Lord, I did what you asked, and it still went wrong." I heard that cry. I sat with you in it. I did not dismiss it with quick answers. And now I want to tell you what was happening in those moments. When I allow obedience to feel costly, it is because I am testing not your capability, but your surrender. I'm asking, will you trust me even when you cannot trace me? Will you follow even when the outcome makes no sense? And your answer, time and again, was yes. That yes has built something unshakable in you. That yes has proven that your faith is not contingent on favorable outcomes. It is rooted in who I am. That is the obedience that heaven honors. Not the obedience of a servant performing a task, but the obedience of a child who trusts their father completely. You have given me that, my beloved. And now, having proven the depth of your trust, I can safely release into your life what I have been preparing. The promise is not delayed any longer. The blessing that your obedience made room for is now on its way. What your faithfulness purchased in the unseen realm is about to become visible in your life. Hold steady. Keep your heart open. The reward is closer than it has ever been. Heaven measured your faithfulness not by how much you achieved, but by how fully you surrendered. And the record is clear. You surrendered in the places that cost the most. You trusted in the seasons that made the least sense. You loved when love required sacrifice. And now the measure of that faithfulness is being returned to you, pressed down, shaken together, running over. The principle has always been true. What you release into my hands does not disappear. It multiplies. And the time for the multiplied return has come. I need to speak to you about the breaking, because you felt it. And it was real. And I have never once pretended otherwise. There were moments in your life when it felt as though everything was shattering at once. The ground you had built your plans on gave way beneath you. People you had relied on were not there when you needed them most. The future you had imagined collapsed before your eyes, and you were left standing in the wreckage of what you thought your life was going to look like. In those moments, you asked me the hardest question a heart can ask. Why did you let this happen? I want to answer that now, not with theology, not with distance, but with the truth of what I saw when I allowed those things to break. I allowed certain things to shatter because they were built on ground that could not hold the weight of what I have destined you to carry. I was not destroying your future. I was clearing the site. A builder who is putting down a permanent foundation does not work around the old, unstable structures. He removes them. He digs down deeper than anything that came before. The breaking you experienced was the sound of that excavation. I was going deeper than you knew, preparing a foundation in your life that will hold what is coming without cracking under the weight of it. Say, "Yes, Lord," if your heart is open to receiving what heaven is releasing today. You did not break, my child. You broke open. There is a difference. What breaks simply fails. What breaks open releases. A seed does not grow while its shell remains intact. The shell has to give way, has to split and yield, before what is living inside it can push upward toward the light. That is what happened in your hardest seasons. The outer things gave way so that what I had placed inside you, the real you, the faith-filled, love-carrying, purpose-laden you, could finally push through into the open. I saw you in those moments of complete undoing. I saw you fall to your knees. I saw you whisper, "God, I cannot take any more." And in that exact moment of total surrender, something shifted. Because surrender is not defeat. Surrender is the posture that receives what force cannot take. The moment you stopped trying to hold together what I had already allowed to fall, my hands came fully under you. You did not crumble into nothing. You fell into me. And the falling was where the transformation began. The cracks that the breaking left in you are not a sign of damage. They are the openings through which my light now shines through. A vessel that has never been broken is often too sealed to let anything in or out. Your brokenness became porosity, the quality of a heart that has been opened wide enough to both receive and pour out without restriction. What you thought was damage, I am using as design. The very places where you were cracked are the places where my grace flows most freely in you now. I also want to tell you what the breaking produced in you that no comfortable season ever could have. It produced compassion, real compassion. The kind that is not theoretical but practiced. You now know what it is to sit in pain with no clear answer. You know what it is to hope when hope is difficult. You know what it is to hold on when everything in you wants to let go. Because you know these things from the inside, you can now sit with others who are in that same place and offer them something that no amount of learning can give. You can offer them the presence of someone who understands. That is one of the greatest gifts a human being can carry. And the breaking is what placed it in your hands. My precious one, the fire you came through was not sent against you. I allowed it because I had a future for you that required gold, and gold is only produced through heat. I knew what was inside you before you did. I saw the quality of your faith long before it was tested. The testing did not create your faith. It revealed it to you, to the unseen realm, to the watching world. The faith was always there. The fire only brought it to the surface so everyone could see what I always knew. What looked like your ending was my beginning. What looked like loss was preparation. What looked like chaos was construction. I was building in the noise and the mess and the confusion of those hard seasons. I was building something in you that required exactly those conditions. Not because I am cruel, but because I am thorough. I do not do partial work. I do not build halfway. And what I have been building in you through every broken season is now complete enough to stand in what is coming. You are not the same person who entered the fire. You are stronger. You are wiser. You are more tender and more resilient at the same time. You are ready. And I want you to know this. I never lost a single fragment of you during those seasons. Not one piece of who you are went missing. There were moments you felt scattered, as though the person you used to be had been broken beyond gathering. But I was gathering every piece. I held them carefully, the way you would hold something irreplaceable. And I was not just gathering and holding, I was restoring. Piece by piece, quietly and with great care, I was putting you back together, not as you were before, but as you were always meant to be. The version of you that emerges from this season is not a lesser version. It is the truest version. The one I designed before a single day of your life began. Let the knowledge of that settle deep in you now. You are not broken. You are remade. And the one who remade you does not make mistakes. Now I want to speak to you about what is coming, not as a distant hope, as a present reality that is already in motion. You have prayed prayers over your life that you eventually stopped saying out loud, not because you stopped believing them entirely, but because the gap between the prayer and the answer grew so long that speaking the prayer again began to hurt. So you carried it quietly, inside, in the place where hope lives when it is too tender to be exposed. I know that place. I have been speaking into it even when you could not hear me. And what I have been speaking is this. I have not forgotten. The promise is still alive, and the hour of its fulfillment has arrived. Something has shifted in the heavens over your life. The season you have been standing in is changing. What was still is beginning to move. What was sealed is beginning to open. What was held back is being released. I am the God who commands seasons, and I am commanding this one to turn. The long winter that tested your endurance is giving way. The ground that looked frozen and bare is warming beneath the surface. You cannot see it yet with your natural eyes, but life is returning. Movement is beginning. Your breakthrough is not a distant hope on the horizon. It is close. It is coming toward you even now. I am sending it through the hands and hearts of those I have already moved into position. Right now, as you receive these words, someone is being stirred to think of you. Someone is being prompted to reach out, to open a door, to speak your name in a room where it needs to be spoken. They may not fully understand why the thought of you has come so strongly, but I am the one moving them. I arranged this. I have been working through people, through moments, through circumstances that have seemed unrelated to your prayer, to bring the answer to you in a way that leaves no question about who orchestrated it. State "I trust" if you believe this word belongs to your life today. The surprise I am releasing over you is not small. I do not do small when the faith has been great and the waiting has been long. What you are about to receive will fit the size of what you have endured. It will match the depth of the sacrifice. It will carry the weight of the prayers that rose from your lips across every hard season. I do not respond to prolonged, costly faith with a meager answer. What is coming has been sized to meet you where you are now, not where you were when you first began to pray, but where I have brought you through everything that came after. It may arrive as a message that changes the direction of something you had given up on. It may come through a conversation you did not know was being arranged. It may appear as an open door in a place that once felt permanently shut to you. It may be peace that arrives without warning and settles so deeply into your chest that you realize something has shifted. Something has finally landed after a long time in the air. Whatever form it takes, you will recognize it. Not because it will announce itself loudly, but because when it arrives, your heart will rest. The anxious waiting will give way to a deep, quiet knowing. That knowing is my signature. That peace is how you will know it was from me. My beloved, I know how hope can become fragile after long stretches of waiting. I know how the heart builds protective walls around itself, how it learns to expect little in order to avoid being hurt again. And I want to speak gently but clearly into that protection now. Lower the walls, my child. Let your heart be open again, not naively, not without wisdom, but open to me. Open to receive what I am bringing. A closed heart cannot receive what an open heart can hold. The very place you have been guarding most carefully is the place I am trying to reach with what I have prepared. The tears you cried in secret have watered something. That is the principle of sowing and reaping, and it does not only apply to ground and seed. It applies to prayer and promise, to faith and fulfillment. Every tear you cried in private over these desires, these longings, these hopes that seemed too persistent to release, those tears were seeds. They went into the ground of your waiting, invisible, seemingly lost. But I do not let holy tears fall and disappear. I gather them, I plant them, and what grows from them surpasses anything the human eye could have imagined lying there in the dark. What you prayed for in secret is now appearing in sight. What you carried in faith through every silent season is now pushing through the surface. The answer is not coming from the direction you necessarily expected. I rarely come from the direction of human expectation, because my ways are not your ways, and my paths are higher than any road you would have mapped out yourself. But it is coming, and when it arrives, you will see with absolute clarity that only I could have arranged this. The timing, the precision, the way it fits the exact shape of the need, it will bear my mark unmistakably. Breathe, my child. The breakthrough is in motion. Heaven is moving on your behalf. The season of release has begun, and what I set in motion does not stall. It arrives. I want you to notice the stirring in your spirit right now. That quiet aliveness that is rising in you as you receive these words. That is not your own excitement. That is my spirit confirming what I am speaking. Your spirit recognizes the truth when it hears it. And your spirit is saying yes to this word right now because you know somewhere beneath all the waiting and all the questions that this is real, that I am real, that I have been real through every single day of the long season you have come through. And now the season turns, and now the blessing comes, and now you will see that every moment of the waiting was worth it. Let me tell you what this new chapter looks like, not in vague spiritual language, but as concretely as I am able to speak it to you now. Where there has been loss, there will be restoration. Not a lesser version of what was lost. Not a pale substitute that you have to convince yourself to be grateful for. Genuine restoration, full and overflowing. I am the God who restores. I do not patch. I do not replace with something cheaper. What I bring back comes with interest. What I return comes with increase. The years that felt like they were taken from you are not gone. They are being redeemed, and the redemption will be visible in ways that will make the people around you take notice and ask what happened to you. Where there has been closed doors, doors are now being opened. Not the doors you battered against in your own strength, but the right doors, the appointed ones, the ones that lead not just to relief, but to purpose. Not every door that closed on you was a denial. Some of them were protection. Behind some of those closed doors was something that would have consumed your energy, distracted your focus, or attached you to a season I was calling you out of. The door that would not open was doing you a service you did not have the vantage point to recognize. But now you will see it. As the right doors swing wide, you will look back at the closed ones and understand. You will say, I see why, and you will be grateful. Where there has been confusion about the path ahead, clarity is coming. The fog that made every step feel uncertain is lifting. I am not asking you to see the full road from where you stand. I never show the whole journey at once, because the whole journey seen at once would overwhelm rather than guide. I show the next step. The next step is becoming visible. Take it when you see it. Do not wait for the step after that to appear before you move. Trust the one step I am lighting and move forward on it. The one after will appear when you need it, not before. Because I do not waste revelation on steps you are not yet standing near. Where there has been relational pain and broken connection, healing is beginning. I am softening hearts that became hardened through hurt. I am opening lines of communication that closed in seasons of misunderstanding. Some of the people I'm bringing back into alignment with you are ones you had quietly grieved. Some of what is being restored in this season are threads that seemed so frayed they could not possibly be rewoven. But I am a weaver, and what I weave cannot be pulled apart. I do not promise that every relationship will return. Some were not meant to, but the ones that belong in your future, those I am tending. Those I am moving toward restoration. Where there has been lack and uncertainty around provision, I am moving. I have not been blind to the weight of that. I have not been indifferent to the nights you lay awake turning over financial concerns in your mind, wondering how the pieces would come together, praying for a breakthrough that seemed to stand just out of reach. I am not a God who ignores the practical. My care for you is not only spiritual. I care about the material conditions of your daily life, because you live in a body that needs to be fed, sheltered, and sustained. The provision I am releasing is not an afterthought. It has been prepared. It is attached to the same timing as everything else I have been arranging. And it is coming through channels you did not open with your own hands, because what I provide does not depend on the limits of your own resources. My child, the peace that is settling over you now, the quiet calm that is beginning to replace the low hum of anxiety you have been carrying, that peace is itself a sign. I give peace as an advance signal, a first fruit, a preview. When my peace arrives before the answer does, it is because the answer is close. The peace is saying, you can rest now. You do not have to hold this with white knuckles any longer. I have it. I have always had it. And I am bringing it to you. The fear that has followed you through this waiting season, the dread of more disappointment, the protective bracing against another letdown, you can lay that down now. Not because everything is already fixed, but because the one who fixes things is already at work. And my track record with your life, even when you could not see it clearly, has been faithfulness. Start to finish, from the day I first breathed my life into you, I have been faithful. I will not stop now. This is the appointed time. Not a time you earned by being good enough or faithful enough. A time I chose in my wisdom that takes into account everything about you, everything about your circumstances, and everything I know about the road that lies ahead. I chose this moment. I orchestrated this season. And I am standing in the middle of it with you, not watching from a distance, but close. So close you could reach out and find me. So close that when you whisper, I can hear it without effort. The new chapter has already begun. The page has turned. You are no longer in the chapter of the test. You are in the chapter of the reward. And the best part of that chapter is not what you will receive. The best part is who you will be as you walk through it. Someone who knows, truly knows, that I am faithful. Someone who has experienced not just the blessing, but the God who blesses. That knowledge is worth everything, and it is yours forever. I want to speak to you about who you are now, not who you were when the hard season began. Who you are now, on the other side of it. You are not diminished by what you went through. You are enlarged. The suffering did not shrink you, it stretched you. And the stretching was painful, but now your capacity is greater than it has ever been. You can carry more love because you have experienced how much love costs and chose to keep giving it anyway. You can hold more peace because you have lived through seasons where peace was not available on the surface and learned to find it deeper down. You can extend more grace because you know what it is to desperately need it. Every hard thing became an expansion. You are bigger on the inside than you were before any of it. I want you to stop measuring yourself against the version of you that existed before the fire. That person was not more complete. That person had not yet been through the refining. There is a quality in refined gold that unrefined gold simply does not have. It is not the rawness that gives it value. It is the purity that emerges from the process. You have that purity now. Not moral perfection, but a clarity of spirit, a settledness, a knowing of what truly matters and what does not, a wisdom that can only be learned through living. You carry that now, and it has made you someone I can trust with what is coming. I have always known your name. I have always seen your face. But there is something particular about this moment, this crossing from one chapter into another, where I want you to hear me say it with more warmth than you have perhaps ever allowed yourself to receive. You are my child, not by your achievement, not by your performance. You are mine because I chose you. And nothing that happened during the waiting, not the doubts, not the questions, not the moments you could not feel me close, none of it changed that. You belong to me. Completely, permanently. That belonging is the foundation that holds everything else. I am asking you to move into this new chapter with your hands open, not clutching what came before, not bracing against what might come next. Open hands receive what closed hands cannot. What I am bringing flows. It arrives. It settles most completely in a heart that has been emptied of self-protection and filled with trust. That is where you are now. That is the posture the long waiting produced in you. And it is exactly the posture needed to receive what heaven is releasing. I also want to speak to you about those you carry in your heart, those you love, the ones you bring before me in the quiet. What I am doing in your life is not isolated to you alone. What I release into your life will flow outward. Those you carry in prayer will be touched by the same wave of my faithfulness breaking over your life right now. The breakthrough you receive is not just for your sake, though I would send it for your sake alone. It is also for those who need to see, through your story, that I still move. That faithfulness to me in the hard seasons is never, ever in vain. Your story is already a testimony. Every person who hears what I have done for you in this season will have their own faith strengthened. Some will be pulled back from the edge of giving up because they hear your story and realize the one who came through for you will come through for them. The full reach of what your endurance has made possible is greater than you can currently measure. But I see it, all of it. And I say to you, the weight of what your faithfulness has already produced in the unseen realm is extraordinary. My precious one, I am sending you into this new season with everything you need. Not just provision and not just opportunity, though both are coming. I am sending you with the one thing that makes all the rest possible: my presence. I will be with you in the harvest as I was with you in the planting. I will be with you when the doors open as I was with you when they were closed. My presence does not shift with your circumstances. It is the constant. Let it be your foundation. Let me be the ground you build on, and nothing that rises from that ground can be pulled down. I want you to know what I have been speaking into your life through every hard day, even when you could not hear it. I love you, not the idea of you. You exactly as you are, with every scar the journey left, with every question you still carry, with every hope that is still fragile and reaching. I love you with a love that did not waver once through the wilderness. A love that went in with you and is now walking with you out. That will never change. The hour has come. The appointed time has arrived. Everything I promised you is moving toward you right now. Watch for it. Keep your heart open. And when it arrives, let gratitude rise. Because the God who brought you through the fire brought you out with a plan. And that plan is unfolding now. You passed the test. Heaven saw every moment of it. The angels who watched you choose trust in the middle of your pain are now carrying what your faithfulness purchased. They are not withholding it. They are delivering it. The same heaven that witnessed your tears is now releasing your reward, and the reward is calibrated to the cost of what you carried. Nothing about what is coming is small. Nothing about it is accidental. It has been measured and prepared and timed with a precision that only I can achieve. And it is yours. Heaven moves for you now. The long road is behind you, and the open country lies ahead. Declare, I receive this, if your heart is open and ready for what heaven is sending you today.
We run on viewer support only. For exclusive member-only content, scan the QR or see the pinned comment. God bless you.